Hello friends, I'm about to give you the biggest wrap up I've possibly ever done. So grab a snack, grab a drink. I got my Bucky's tumbler ready to go because I have so much to talk to you guys about. If you want recommendations of what films to look out for, what films to watch, and what films to avoid, I got you covered. It's gonna be a chatty one. So I appreciate you being here. But first, I do want to thank today's sponsor, Surfshark. I've been working with Surfshark for years because I truly use their service on the daily. Surfshark is a VPN, which stands for Virtual Private Network. Not only do they encrypt and protect you while you're surfing the internet, they can also unlock geo-blocked content. So say if I wanted to watch something that was only on a service in a country I'm not in, all I have to do is type in where I want to be, click a button, and I'm there instantly. But one of my favorite features is that your one membership unlocks unlimited devices. So I can have it on my phone, on my laptop, on my smart TV, wherever I'm on the internet, and it's all under the same account. You don't need multiple memberships. I love that. It's very rare in 2025, and it's just so user-friendly, and I have a great offer for you today. If you use my code SPOOKY or the link down in the description, you'll get 4 months extra of Surfshark. That's 4 months of Surfshark on me. Just use the code SPOOKY or the link in the description and just try it out because they do have a 30-day risk-free money-back guarantee. So what are you waiting for? Try it out right now. Use the code SPOOKY, and thank you so much to Surfshark for sponsoring this video. Okay guys, let's get to it. My cat keeps pushing my chair, so if I go like this, she's really mad. I've been away for so long. I am about to get into everything I watched in September, so pull up your letterbox because you might want to add some of these to your to-watch list. So this is everything I watched in September. I know it's a little bit late. I do apologize. After I got back from my trip, if you don't know, I went to America and I went to a film festival, so that's what we're going to talk about. There's going to be a lot to talk about today. Upon everything else I've watched a bunch of other things outside of that. I'm really sorry for getting this to you so late. I just really wanted to get those other videos up, especially about things I was really excited about coming off the festival, so I didn't repeat myself too much in this video. But let's start. House of Eden. Okay, I wanted to see what the fuss was about. I don't really follow the two content creators. I guess they're on TikTok and YouTube, so they're not technically just YouTubers, but they created a found footage horror movie that then got picked up. So I do understand that this film was never meant to have a wide release, but I think having a big following, a studio picked it up. I think Shudder picked it up, then gave them a theatrical release. This is really an indie quintessential found footage, so made on that kind of budget, looking that kind of way, and unfortunately zeroing in on things we've already seen done before. And as long as they're happy with the product and enjoyed making it, I totally get it, but it was not for me. It lacked originality. I liked some of the aspects, and I think that they had like one or two, I wouldn't say interesting scenes, but well put together scenes for a shoestring budget and a bunch of friends making a film. I think then it was marketed probably the wrong way, and also when they released this into the cinema, I couldn't imagine what it would be like as me, a film goer. I didn't see this in the cinema and I had some context, but watching this completely blind because they give you no context as to who these people are and what they're doing in the situation. You're just kind of dropped, which found footage should be. That's the whole point. You're finding the footage, but then the story's meant to come along with it, and that never really happened. So this is about a bunch of friends. They shoot like spooky ghost hunting type content together, and they're on a quest to make a video, and some tension comes out between them, and that's basically it. They go to a haunted location, and then they're surprised that the location is haunted. It was not received well. I did not enjoy it, and yeah, I think it's a real bummer, to be honest. What a bummer to start on. Then I watched Caught Stealing. This is the new Darren Aronofsky film. Another one that caught me off guard, actually. It looked like a real slick, fun, kind of sexy, not like rom-com, but you know, we have the leads, Austin Butler, of course, and Zoe Kravitz, and them together in New York and getting themselves into trouble when one of their neighbors goes away and they get caught in this conspiracy with the underground crime circles in New York. There's actually a really cool backstory to the main character played by, why am I keep forgetting his name? I was going to say Elvis, by Austin Butler. I really liked his backstory in this film, and I actually found this film to be really sad and very thrilling. I went and saw it in the cinema at just a general screening, not many people there, and people walked out because it was very violent, and I wasn't expecting that either. I should have known better, or I really shouldn't have questioned Darren Aronofsky. He knows what he's doing. Of course, this is based off a book, but I really enjoyed this film. One of my favorite non-horrors of the year. It was really good. The ride, the thrills, edge of your seat, but a lot more violent than I expected. So don't let the trailer fool you, I guess. I then rewatched Coherence. I rewatched this with my patrons, my lovely patrons. Beautiful, sci-fi, twisted film. A little bit of a mind-bending journey. I've seen this film so many times, and every time I get something new out of it, but I especially like watching it with people who haven't seen it before, which I had done this time, and getting their opinions. There was maybe a little bit of back and forth during this session of talking throughout it and kind of working little aspects out, but I really enjoyed the performances and kind of cracking films like this apart that you have seen so many times. But if you haven't seen it, highly recommend if you like sci-fi mind benders, a really well done indie film. After that, I watched Meet the Feebles. I thought I had seen this. I hadn't. I definitely would have remembered this. This is Peter Jackson at his rawest, and it is one of the most over-the-top, insane films I've ever seen. Disgusting. Absolutely disgusting in all the best ways. I don't know if it's technically like a parody of the Muppets and show business, more like commentary on show business in the most disgusting way possible. We start off with a newcomer into this world, all different critters and creatures working on this production, and a newcomer appears and we get to see the cracks that are very much in the open. They have the disgusting executive CEO type. It's very sexual, and there's a lot of fluid. Every fluid you can think of, okay? The Fly is something else as well, but there's a lot of commentary on show business, and it really just pushes every single boundary. So X-rated Muppets, if you will. Enjoyed it. That was another one I watched with my patrons, so a fun group watch. I don't know how I would have done watching it alone, honestly. I then watched The Long Walk, which I did a review on. Really enjoyed this, and I'm glad a lot of other people really enjoyed it. It looks like it's getting, yeah, look at that. It's got a 3.9. So I'm glad. I was actually really pleasantly surprised by that one. I have a whole review on it, so I won't bore you guys. After that, I watched this isn't a nice one to talk about. I just watched a shorter documentary. It's only 50 minutes. I think it was on Stan, which is an Australian streaming platform, or Prime. But it is about some boys who committed a horrific crime when they were young, and kind of following them now and where they are. Although the reason I rated it so low is because it doesn't really give any information. It seems like it's all leading up to an interview for them reflecting on their crime, but nothing really happens. So it really felt like almost like an, I don't want to say e-news or something like that, update on a crime just to talk about the crime with no new information and a lot of speculation. So not something I would recommend, and what they did was just so horrendous. I would rather have watched a documentary about all of that together than seeing what they're up to now and then not actually having any updated information. Not that I really want to watch anything on that crime. It's disgusting. After that, I watched Tina. I think that's how I pronounce this. This beautiful film I watched on the plane, cried my eyes out. Beautiful New Zealand film about a woman who goes through tragedy, and then she is brought into a private school and tries to bring her passion back with a new set of students. It's a beautiful story, touching, heartbreaking. Honestly, if you don't like this film, you may not have a heart. More of, I would say, like a drama. After that, I watched F, Marry, Kill. This is one that I talked about in my what's coming to VOD a while back, and finally got around to it. It was actually on the plane as well, and it was showing, so I thought this is the perfect opportunity to watch a film like this. It's kind of fun. It was kind of goofy. It's like a whodunit for online dating. So she's out dating in the world, and they have at the same time a killer who is targeting people who are online dating. And then she believes that she might be dating the killer, but we kind of have to figure out which one the killer could be, which is kind of crazy in itself that someone would be online dating when they know there is a killer targeting people in their vicinity. But it's fun, it's silly, nothing really that special. I mean, it's exactly what I expect for something called F, Marry, Kill. After that, I watched My Wife, My Abuser, The Secret Footage. This is the most insane, it's awful. This is so awful. Another UK, I believe it was the UK documentary about a man who recorded the footage of him being abused in his household. And the journey, it's very profound and very vulnerable, the journey that he went on to get help and how it all happened. I think that these stories are really important, especially someone coming out and speaking from their own experience and what he endured and what he put up with and how it eventually led to him getting help. I think that it opens the door for a lot of people who are experiencing similar events and aren't able to see it in the moment. So I think it's really important, but it's a horrific watch. Really startling, and you see a lot of interviews from the police officers who were involved and how traumatized they are from the things that they saw. So you can really see how deep the impact was. I heard about this film on TikTok, I think, and someone said it was one of the most disturbing things I've ever seen. I think it is really up there with disturbing documentaries, but it is very plain. It's not overproduced. It's very matter of fact. I didn't rate it, I don't think, because I just what can you rate something like that? It was a lot. After that, I watched Smile 2. Fun fact, I was sitting next to a little 4-year-old boy on the plane and he was sleeping when I was watching this and I was praying that he didn't wake up. He didn't. It was fine. But this was a really fun, I think, second or third watch for me. Parker Finn's continuation of Smile through the eyes of a starlet who has gone through her own trauma. So the film, if you haven't seen it, you don't really have to have seen the first, but to understand the entity and what is happening and the curse, maybe so. But it has a very strong opening in its own storyline where we follow a star who has just come back into the spotlight and she is chased by an infliction that completely turns her life upside down. The psychology, I guess psychological aspect of this is so well put together. And I think now knowing the ending and watching it back, I had a smoother ride because it is very unpredictable in the best way, but being able to understand how it was going to end, it was really interesting seeing the third act. Anyway, I really enjoyed rewatching this. It's a great film. It's a great film. The end is wild and very bizarre. Then I watched The Thursday Murder Club. This is a Netflix movie with some greats. Helen Mirren, Pierce Brosnan, Ben Kingsley. It's got them all really. But it is a little murder mystery about a club who get together and try and solve murders, and they live in a retirement village or building together, and while everyone else is doing puzzles and crochet, they're doing these murder mysteries and how they get tangled up in this mystery, but also how they work with the police along the way. It was a cute little film. Yeah, I don't know. I wanted to like it more than I did. It's based on a book, so that made a lot of sense to me because I felt like there was odd details included that didn't really do much for the story. It doesn't feel as, I don't want to say polished, but it didn't feel as kind of slick as I hoped it would. But it was still fun. It was still cute. I then watched Heretic for the how manyth time with my friends Lauren and Jessie. Great film. They hadn't seen it before, so I loved rewatching that. I've seen this film 5 times now. It's such a fun, terrifying ride, and I love the performances of the two leads. Everyone talks about Sophie Thatcher, but I really love Chloe East. Both of them grew up in the Mormon church, and this is from a Mormon door knocker perspective, so I feel like the perspective they already had on that is really interesting when you look at the film as a whole. So it's about 2 Mormon girls who go to visit someone's house who said they were interested in the church, and upon entering his house, they realize something is very off, and this is Hugh Grant playing this psychopath. Well worth a watch. More of a conversational film. Definitely gets thrilling. Again, it is violent, but it is more of a conversational, contrarian movie. So I really like that film. After that, I watched The Devil Conspiracy. Oh my God. I still don't actually understand this film, to be fair. I probably shouldn't have vlogged it. It was a bizarre unraveling. I couldn't say I understood anything that happened during this film. I'm going to be completely honest with you. A powerful biotech company has breakthrough technology allowing them to clone history's most influential people with just a few fragments of DNA. It was a very over-the-top, bizarre movie for me that had no distinctive flow and had a lot of clunky dialogue. along with the editing, and I honestly was lost for most of the film, but it's not really my normal movie. It felt like watching like Battlefield Earth to me. I was so out of my comfort zone. So I'm probably not the right person to talk about it, but you can see from other people I follow, their ratings. Maybe you're aware of the title now. I'm sorry, I cannot give that one a good rundown. I found it really hard to follow. Sorry, that is probably the worst Letterboxd wrap-up movie I've ever spoken about. Okay, from there, I watched Him, which I did a review on. A film I wanted to love, but it didn't get all the way there for me, and I felt like it was, I don't want to say too predictable, but it was too predictable. I kind of could see everything coming from the start. Beautiful film, absolutely visually outstanding, and the music was fantastic as well. It was very brutal, but very straightforward, I found. I don't think that anything was wrong with the performances either. It was just so incredibly straightforward. Okay, from here, we get into Fantastic Fest. So these are the films I saw at the festival in order. The Piano Accident. This is by the same director who did Deerskin, which is a very strange, off-putting movie. He also did Rubber. So he has a knack, a French director who has a knack for putting together very abnormal storylines. So I was very keen to see this as my opening film. It is about a social media, I guess she is a YouTuber. She's a content creator who is approached by a journalist, and her past is brought up, or I guess some content that she doesn't want to surface. But it's not as juicy as it sounds. It's a very strange back and forth film with a great wraparound to the start. It is odd, strange, and off-putting, and very uncomfortable in all the best ways. I think it took a while for me to kind of get into the flow and understand what they were trying to do in terms of the blackmailing that goes on in this movie. And I think that it is quite a genius idea, but it's not condensed enough to make the story really grab you and keep you in the dark. It settles on some aspects instead of letting it just do its thing and let you accept its genius. But a very interesting film. Very interesting. Very different, so I like that. After that, I watched Crushed. I talked about this in my disturbing films from the festival. This is one of the worst films I've seen. An awful, awful display of disturbing cinema, which I love disturbing cinema, but this movie touches on some really horrific themes and concepts and uses it as plot devices instead of using it to really bring any awareness, which I do think was the intent of the movie. And I feel like it just didn't work. Lots of walkouts for this movie. It's very violent towards kids and animals, even if it's not shown the ideas it presents. So not a fun film at all. After that, I watched Body Blow, which I'm so excited to talk about. This was one of my favorite finds. I did not know before watching it that it was going to be Australian, so that was really fun as well. But it is a homoerotic crime thriller about an evil drag queen. And it is very soap opera-ish. It's very soapy, very heavy stylized, very fun. And we watch a cop who has to go undercover to get to the middle of a conspiracy, but he gets wrapped up in his own personal issues, including his right to his addiction. I don't want to say to sex, but his addiction of exploration. And when he gets into this underground world, there are forbidden fruits, and it's a very strange film, and it took me a little bit to kind of understand what they were trying to get at, and it really surprised me. I found the twists in it really compelling. The characters were really fun and very vibrant, and yeah, it just blew me away. I've never seen a film like this before, and I was really proud to be an Australian and watching this one. So I really love that film. I have no idea when it's coming out. I know they're still doing their festival circuit. After that, I watched The Curse, which is a Japanese and Taiwan co-production. It's meant to be more about the fears of social media and what it can do, but it ends up being more of just a general curse horror movie. Things we've seen before, but things that they do really well in Asian horror, talking about curses and how they can attach to people. I think that the gore is good, but quite goofy in this movie, which kind of takes you out of it due to its tonal shifts. It has some really prolonged scenes, but I don't want to say the worst part, but the thing that took me out the most was the main actress is so deadpan and not reactive the entire film that sometimes it was, some goofy special effects happening, and I could only pay attention to what was happening on her face, showing how much of it was done in post. So this film didn't really work for me. I wish it did. you know, the curse. I was really excited to see that. Then I watched Cramps, a period piece. This is a really fun indie project about the director made it about their own relationship with their body and having endometriosis and periods. And it is a stylized, strange kind of, I would say vintage, but it's meant to span over a few decades. It's not really meant to be stuck in one era. And it's about a girl who's not really quite sure of herself and her trying to be accepted by others and, you know, find love, and her complications with her relationships at work, at home, and with herself during, I guess, her coming of age. But it's a very short slice of life film at the same time. And for me, it was kind of like a John Waters film directed by a woman. But beautiful film, really fun one-liners, kind of shticky, silly, kitschy. It knows what it is. And it has real heart. So I really enjoyed watching that one. After that, I watched Shelby Oaks. I have a whole review on that. I had such a ball watching that at the cinema. So please go watch if you want to see. It's all spoiler free. And this one is finally coming out soon. So I do have a completely dedicated video on that. Please go watch it because there's so many details in that. I went and saw Vicious. I thought I was really going to like this film, to be honest. The opening is so grand and so beautiful. It was a direct to VOD going straight to Paramount Plus. And I wondered why when the film opened, because it was so beautiful. But then after a while, it felt a little bit repetitive and like we were going through the same idea again and again. I don't have any problem with having an ambiguous film, but I felt like this film didn't really say anything past the first half hour. But Dakota Fanning's performance in it is fantastic. And it is set around Christmas time, so it'd be great winter horror if you're looking to watch something at home. Maybe add that to the list for that. You don't really need to watch this film right away, and you could definitely put it on a back burner list if you're looking for films like The Lodge or like anything that happens during winter and you like watching those. This is the horror for that. It's about a woman who receives a present from a stranger at her door late at night, and the rabbit hole it takes her down, about her own identity. Again, loved Dakota Fanning in this film. I loved her performance, but I also liked her character. It kind of went nowhere, which was disappointing for me, but beautiful to look at. I then watched Find Your Friends. I watched this because I love Bella Thorne, and Bella Thorne's in it, along with Helena Howard, Chloe Cherry. It's just a bunch of really beautiful women who have a very realistic chemistry, like a real friend group, and showing that friendship, that female friendship, through its negativity and positivity in a real light, and how the complicated these relationships can be as they navigate a party weekend away at Joshua Tree with a lot of red flags. This film is twisted. It is a thriller that starts out being on a party boat and ends horrifically. I really liked the way it showed everyone's perspective on an even playing field, even though we do follow one character as the protagonist. It has a real interesting dynamic where you can see where everyone's coming from, and when they get annoyed at each other, you can understand why. It's just presented very realistically, which I loved. Great film, great thriller. I'm not sure when this one will come out. I assume if they haven't announced it yet, it might be next year. I will keep you updated, but I really enjoyed this one. After this, I watched Coyotes, which came out at, I think, for a limited run in North America. I want to say the 3rd of October. It should still be playing. This is Justin Long and Kate Bosworth as a couple. This is actually a really weird poster because this does not look like the film at all. I mean, that's definitely what the Coyote looks like, but that's not. They're a suburban family. They're with their kid basically the whole time, so this is really interesting. But it's about them in the Hollywood Hills during a storm where they have to deal with a pack of coyotes who gather around them. It's not really all about the coyotes. It's a lot to do with their dynamic, and Justin Long plays a graphic artist or a comic book artist, and it's got to do with his balance of work and family and coming together during a horrific night of survival. But there is a lot of other characters, there's all their neighbors, and it takes a lot to get into the actual incident. Seeing this poster and seeing a lot of the marketing around it, you would think it would just be a creature feature, but I felt like the coyotes, of course, they're a huge part, but there's so much other context going on. It's also very wacky and goofy, and they bring out Justin Long's profession into that, with a lot of comic book title cards and introductions and transitions. So it's kind of like a very goofy film as well. I liked it. It was fine. Again, another one I would have been okay to watch at home. Then watched The Strangers Chapter 2. I have a full review on that if you want to watch it. Very disappointing. I wanted things to turn around. You know, I'm one person who will always have hope. And I feel like I've lost it, but I also feel like I'm so far down The Strangers hole now. Like, I've dedicated hours of my life to this. I'm gonna have to see how it ends as well. I then watched Before the Fall. This is a beautiful Spanish, I would say dystopian. It's really dark dystopian drama about a group of people and how they're connected during their last days on Earth, and what they tell each other and themselves to try and get through that. It is very slow. It's a very slow moving film. It's quite dry and more of a thought-provoking journey. I really liked it. It did feel like it went for a lot longer than 90 minutes though. Oh, also on Before the Fall, Wes Craven actually wanted to remake this in America. So I found that quite interesting, especially after watching the film. It's nothing like I would have picked. From there, I watched Killing Spree. This was a late night watch. This is a very lowbrow kind of video nasty type movie. It was a restoration of a French film, basically a masked killer walking around doing their thing. Very blurry, very out of focus. Not a lot of dialogue, not a lot of story, all visual and all atmosphere. It was fine, but really not a complete film. It was a very short film. I then watched The Plague, which was one of my favorite films of the festival. Again, I can't wait when this one comes out. I will try and remind you guys. This is about a socially awkward boy who is at a water polo camp with a group of other boys and their dynamic between them. And honestly, it's all about bullying and how they treat each other when they think that one of the boys has the plague. It's more of a slow moving drama thriller where the performances of the kids just really throw you. It's just fantastic what they can do. And they really keep it focused on them instead of any adults for a long time, a long portion of the film. But it's about their dynamics and how this cycle of bullying is exhibited and continued. It's really sad, but really harrowing. And the lead, he was just fantastic. I really love this film. I can't wait for you guys to watch it. I know that's really annoying to say. I'm very aware. I then watched Deathgasm 2. This is such a fun entry just because everyone comes back. If you haven't seen the first movie, it is a cult classic to me. But the first one here, I just pulled it up for you guys. I did rate them both the same. I feel like they're on par, but it's about two young boys who unleash this ancient evil while trying to escape their mundane lives. This one, they have all of them come back. It's later in life. The gang gets back together and somehow they conjure up evil once again. It's really fun, really silly. Lots of sexual, I wouldn't even say innuendos, just sexual scenes. It's very over the top and gritty. And I like that they kept the same heart and soul throughout it. So that it was really fun to watch that in a group setting, I think. After that, I watched Silent Night, Deadly Night. This was a secret film, a secret screening that we didn't know was going to come. This is a remake of the original and it's very different. I think if you're going to watch this film, go in knowing it is basically the stylization of a Hallmark movie, but a complete horror movie. It's very cheesy. I mean, it's kind of heartwarming in a really disturbing way, which is quite like the original. So this is completely unconnected to the original. It's a full remake, but the original is a Christmas movie that is super dark and taking anything that people find as a childhood memory or a cherished childhood memory is really interesting when it comes to the tonal shifts in these films. And I think that this one, although it's so different to the original, it really nails the same vibe where it's taking something that a lot of people hold dearly and showing the really dark underbelly of it and a lot about mental illness, which is really sad, but also really kind of appropriate for this time of the year in a very strange way. But this one, the lead, he is so good. Rowan Campbell, he was the guy from Halloween. Fantastic. And he plays Billy, who witnesses something sinister in his family, and then this drives kind of like a metaphor for mental illness within him and how he carries that on as a complete psychopath. I loved him. He is so good in this film, and just this role and the approach I think is really well done, but I don't think it's for everyone. Again, Hallmark horror movie about Christmas. It's exactly what you think. It's very slow, it's very cheesy, it's gory, but it's also quite charming. I think so. I enjoyed it. I can't wait to rewatch it. I don't think I rated that one because I'm on the fence. I know I didn't rate a lot of these ones. It was because I was doing reviews along the way. But this one, I need to rewatch going into it with a clear mind. I watched that one quite late at night, but I'm really excited to rewatch it when it comes out here. I then watched Fuck My Son, which I've spoken about before. This is an X-rated. I can't really open too much about this, but it is a X-rated horror goofy journey based on a comic or a graphic novel about a woman who is kidnapped with her daughter and taken back to a lady's house who wants her to my son. It is meant to be over the top. It's meant to push boundaries. It is really goofy, heavy prosthetics, heavy effects, and there's some questionable AI in there for sure that I don't think really adds to the story. But for anyone who was a sicko like me, it was just so fun to see a movie that is this dark and twisted and knows it's twisted. It's like seeing Human Centipede in a cinema. So that was a really fun experience for, devastatingly disturbing people like me. Not a great film and not one I'd recommend to most people, but an amazing watch, if that makes any sense. I then watched If I Had Legs, I'd Kick You, and this is such a beautiful movie. Sorry for people who have heard me talk about this in my most disturbing movies from Fantastic Fest. I did a video on that. You can find that here. But this is Rose Byrne this close. She's up so close during a lot of the film. I would say like 60% of the film. And it's the story of a woman who was pushed to the edge. She's looking after her daughter who has a medical condition, and her husband has kind of gone out of town, and then everything just comes crashing down on her and how she deals with that. It's a film a lot, again, about mental illness and the cycle of toxic positivity during mental issues. That is a very broad way of looking at it, I think. It's a very anxiety-filled journey where you're just following this woman who is just screaming for help, basically, and everything she's going through that just keeps piling on. Beautiful performance, really well done, and really heartbreaking. It's so good. I really enjoyed that film, and I really recommend it to anyone who likes anxiety movies. Then I have Obsession. I have a whole video on this. I know a lot of people are really not mad, but upset in an understandable way, and not upset at me, but the fact that there is no real trailer for this film right now. There is nothing. This is a fake poster, I'm pretty sure too, because I don't actually have a poster. This is the only still online, so that's why it's made into that poster. One of my favorite films I've ever seen. I have a whole video on it. Go check it out if you want more. I know people are sick of me talking about it. It will be out sometime in 2026. It still has to do its festival run, even though it's already been picked up for distribution. We just don't have details. I really think it will get a wide release though, with the amount of people who have been blown away by it and the audience feedback. After that, I watched One Battle After Another. This was another secret screening, but it's out at the cinema anyway, so it was just fun to see this in the middle of the festival just to kind of break it up. I really enjoyed this movie. I can understand why a lot of people are raving about it. It is about this group, they call them revolutionaries here, who have a very violent and vibrant run of this city and the government before things turn sour and people get caught and things get sticky. And then years later, what happens when they must return together to protect one of their own. It's a journey film. I don't want to spoil too much. Beautiful performances and totally thrilling because of the score. There's this beautiful piano score that just really heightens, and I loved it. And Sean Penn was so good. His walk was phenomenal in this film. He plays a crazy baddie. But I think all of it was really great. I really like Regina Hall as well. It was a very intense journey film that takes place over, a whole decade or 2 decades. So I could understand why it was so long, because it needed time to build the audience up to the story so you really understood the full cycle of everything and the poetic, I don't know if it's justice, but the poetic element of it all. So I really enjoyed that one. I can understand how it is doing so well in the mainstream as well. I then watched Dracula. This is not the Dracula that anyone is thinking of. This film ruined me. And I wanted to like it so bad because it is a lower budget, really fun passion project. But the whole idea of it is we follow this small town in Transylvania where they are hosting this kind of vampire show, and throughout that, the narrator of the story comes in and talks about how he has put Dracula into different AI scenarios, and then we watch that play out either acting from an AI script or we just see AI clips. And the film is so long, 170 minutes, and it just keeps going. I feel like its point was very clear within the first half an hour, but it just kept harping on and it just felt very repetitive. And then I felt like it harped on so much that it lost its point because it's meant to be against AI. You should show some examples and then kind of move on, but the whole thing is full of AI. And then it becomes almost the person, the editor or the director who put it together that makes it borderline unwatchable because of the way that they have put the whole film together. So it becomes like a product of human error and AI error. I was not a big fan. It was such a weird film. I then rewatched Find Your Friends. I was lucky enough to see it again at a very empty screening, so I wasn't taking anyone's seat, but it was very fun. I then watched Good Luck, Have Fun, Don't Die, which this one is coming out in January, so do not worry, it's coming out in January. This is a beautiful, well, maybe not beautiful, but it's a slick sci-fi high budget movie with so many fantastic actors, and Sam Rockwell plays this magnetic character who at the start walks into a diner and declares that everyone needs to listen to him or else. It is another story. I felt like throughout the festival there was a reoccurring theme of the dangers of AI, and this isn't just AI, but it's just technology and the way we communicate and the way we connect. It felt like to me Black Mirror on crack. Like it really shoved everything that Black Mirror has been saying for so long into one cohesive storyline. It really shocked me, some of the turns. It's definitely a little bit of a tonal shift because they do talk about very heavy subject matter and then they try and keep it quite light with some of the characters and situations. So I can see how people may get a little bit muddy with that, and it does push the boundaries. It's very much like Don't Look Up in terms of its commentary, but a little bit more obviously fast paced and very magnetic. And just the opening monologue when he goes into this diner, and I had no idea what the film was because it was a secret screener and I had never even heard of it, was so fantastic. It really hooked me. So that was really fun, going in the blindest I have ever gone into a film. I do have a whole video on that, but I've never done that before where I haven't known what the film is and didn't know anything about it. That was a real fun moment for me. After that, I watched, everyone says this film name differently, so I'm not even going to attempt, but this is a independent film. I believe this one will be on VOD platforms pretty soon, I assume. I don't think it's getting a wide release. It's a very fun movie that is very disconnected, and you really just have to take everything with a grain of salt and hope that it will all come around and make sense. It does, but I feel like the way it was described to me before I saw it, it was completely different because it's, again, another film that is meant to be talking about the dangers of AI, but turns into a bloody nightmare, which I love. But it follows more so the deep fake videos and that aspect and how that can really twist lives. It's almost like an anthology because you see all of these different characters and jump around scene to scene, and then it shows the way it's connected, which is quite clever, but it does feel quite disjointed. I will say the gore is fantastic in it and the acting is very passionate, so I liked that, but the flow of things didn't work the best for me. I'm really interested to see what this director does next. I will say he was fantastic. He was at most of the festival, hanging around, talking to everyone, very passionate. So I'm very excited to see what will come next. After that, I saw Dysphoria. This is a very strange and dark film. I probably should have included this in my disturbing movies, to be honest. And this one is another dystopian nightmare, more so about mental health and death obsession. So very dark. Again, a little bit disjointed. I think it's a Spanish movie, I'm trying to remember. Yes, Spanish film, filmed in Spain, about a family who are trying to outrun this dystopian, horrific, almost curse and virus that society is crumbling around, and how they wind up in this remote place, but it still comes knocking. So it's a very dark, bleak story involving children as well, but it's quite a short and sharp film, only 82 minutes. Again, I'm really sorry, I'm not sure when that one's going to come out, but keep an eye out for it. And then the last film I saw was the Closing Night movie. After this, obviously, I took a little bit of a break, so thank you for also sitting through me talking about all these films that haven't come out yet. But Whistle is about a death whistle. I wanted to love this film because the kills are fantastic. But I don't know, I felt like the narrative of it kind of fell down slightly. So it's about a girl who goes to a new school and she finds this whistle in her locker and the new group that kind of form around her and how this whistle affects them. It's very straightforward. It's a really cool idea about the death whistle because these are things that actually exist in some cultures, and the director came out and spoke about this a little bit at the end. So I thought it was really interesting to hear that, but it's, you know, it's more of a slasher, so it doesn't really get into the profound history. I mean, a little bit, but you know, it doesn't get into all of the really interesting aspects of it, and the darkness more so kept it on a high school level, slasher level. But that's fine. It has some really insane kills. There's one scene that is so good, just like the best thing in the film. But honestly, when I think about the movie, that's all I think about is that scene. So as a whole story, it felt very like just a prop to get some really creative kills out. But you know what? There's nothing wrong with that. That's sometimes really fun. So I think this one's going to get a cinema release in January or February. So if you are into creative kills and you want to see a really fun slasher, high school slasher, that's definitely what to expect from The Whistle. Okay, that's all of the films. Let's talk quickly about TV, if you will give me a moment of your time. I have watched every single season of Australia Survivor now, so you guys can spoil whatever to me. No, don't leave any spoilers, just for other people. But I've watched every single season and I finished Australia versus the World. I have very strong opinions on it. I think it was a very rushed production. There's only 12 contestants. I'm not really happy with some of the choices that were made, obviously, but that's Survivor for you. It was still quite interesting, and there was some, episode 7 was wild, but as a wrap up and a goodbye to, if people know, Jonathan, who was one of the best hosts on TV, was let go of from Survivor and replaced with David, who is on this season, by the way, the latest season, and he's been on previous stuff. What a travesty. I had kind of deemed myself that this was going to be the last season I watched, especially since it was rushed through and it was a condensed season. I just don't think it works for Survivor. Survivor is a long game. It's meant to be surviving out there for X amount of days. So when you really shorten that and you put them out there for a week, and these are all people who have played before, it's like a walk in the park for them and more of a social game than a surviving game and a come up, any underdogs or anything like that. I feel like the fate was sealed at the start. So I was not going to watch the new season because I love Jonathan, but I just found out that I may know some people on the new season. Well, they're rumored to be on there, so I am definitely keen to keep watching. I started Poker Face season 2. I don't think we quite finished it. The first episode is great. I will say, as soon as you kind of get into Poker Face, you remember, or, you know, watching the season 2, I remembered that the formula is very predictable and they just hit the same beats. It's set up the exact same way every single episode. So I would love to see something different if they do continue to a season 3, but as a background show or something that you watch, you know, one episode every week, it's not bad. Obviously, Natasha Lyonne is fantastic in it, and I'll watch anything with her, and I can see some cameos coming up from some voices in the background, things like that. But also I love watching the different cameos because, you know, it's just fun to see that on TV. And although that's totally fine, it just becomes a bit repetitive. So enjoy it, but I really hope that they find a way to kind of spice up the formula. I think that they have the ability to, because it's written really well. And I watched Love Scam, the new Netflix show. I felt like it was very dragged out. In this show, we watched different scams, online scams, people who have preyed on the vulnerable, preyed on people in love, preyed on people in relationships and that they're in a relationship with, for mainly financial gain. And we follow people who are investigating this. I feel like it's very dumbed down. Sometimes they go, okay, now I will have to go and have a look at this. The investigators talking to each other and saying, okay, have you got a handle on this? Yes, I have. It felt very rehearsed. Obviously, they usually are, but there's no real chemistry there. And the main girl, she was from the Tinder Swindler, and I don't think she has a lot of media training, and I'm not trying to pick on her, but it just comes across that she doesn't really have much, I wouldn't say charisma on screen, but maybe she's just not very comfortable, and I don't think that this format works quite well for her, having her, you know, rehash lines and perform in that way. She was very good in her interviews in the original documentary because she was on the spot, and I just think that maybe they need to do some more work around that if they're going to continue it. I did watch the whole thing though, because I do find this kind of stuff really interesting, and with the crash and burn of Catfish, which is quite sad. If you don't know, Catfish has ended, but they also did, apparently I didn't watch it, but they did a ending episode or some kind of recap thing, and they didn't mention Cammy at all. And there's been a lot of rumors online about Cammy being snubbed, and Cammy was one of the best parts of that show, so I'm very, you could tell I'm very dark on it. But yeah, so with that kind of crashing, I was hoping that we would find a nice replacement that is still doing the justice that we need. And also, it's really good in this day and age to, again, give out this information to people who are vulnerable, who may be watching these shows. It's literally informative and preventative in a way that people know how these scams take place, especially when it's emotional manipulation. So I was kind of let down by it. It also has a very strange format where they end one kind of scam story in the middle of the next episode and then start another one, so that you kind of have to watch it all together in a line. Otherwise, you're picking back up halfway through another one and then starting half of another one, if that makes sense. So I think it's an interesting way to keep you hooked. But yeah, I just thought it was interesting formatting just for you guys to know. Make your own opinions up, as always. I think that's everything. I want to thank you guys so much for being here. If you sat all the way through this, you're a freaking champ. And you can meet my long Furby. How about that? I don't think I've introduced you. This is Franny. Franny is a good friend of mine that a good friend of mine got for me, that my friend Lauren got for me. And I think you guys should all say hi to Franny in the comments. If you made it this far, say hi to Franny. Just hi, Franny. I mean, tell Franny anything you want. Your secrets, your desires, maybe not your desires. Don't be mean to my friend Franny though. Innocent, totally innocent. But thank you guys so much for being here. Honestly, I'm so sorry that this was so late. I can't thank anyone who was watching this, who I met at Fantastic Fest. I cannot thank you enough. You were all angels. I did not meet anyone who wasn't the most interesting, nice, charismatic human being I've ever met. Like, everyone there was fantastic, and I would love to go back another year if I can. For as long as I'm doing this and I'm able to do this and make this my job, I am so privileged to be able to do that, and it was literally a highlight of my career. So I'm gonna go before I cry, because every time I talk about it, I cry, because it's such a fond memory for me. So thank you all at home as well for making that possible. Huge thank you to my patrons for keeping my channel afloat. I don't have any sponsors. I have Surfshark, but I really love bringing you guys things that are completely uncensored. I mean, for YouTube, but in terms of my own opinion, I don't want to work with anyone who is drowning that or changing that. And it's my Patreons who allow me to live like that, but it's also you guys who support my videos. So thank you so much. I am going to say this out loud. I really want to make it to 200K this year. I mean, I don't really, now you come out. That's my cat, not my long Furby. I really do. It would be a really fun end of year goal for me. It's important to have goals. If not, that's totally fine. But if you aren't subscribed, or you know someone who would like my videos, please feel free to share with them. I would really appreciate it. And thank you all for being here. I'll see you guys very soon for Black Phone 2.